It is the RIOT podcast, and this is Christmas Eve.
Yay for Christmas Eve. Hopefully you enjoy the show. It's a lot of Christmas stuff, which I think you should expect.
Yes.
It'd be weird if not.
I thought.
Yes, Nikki.
There was something
Thank
about
you. You're right.
There was something about the tone of your voice. It felt like you were still going, so I was just waiting.
Wasn't.
Well, you know, it's the end of the year, whatever.
He's still a little tired. It's fine.
So I'll tell you, in the podcast today, you're going to hear us talking about our 2020 awards. And it's funny how every year I keep saying I want to write this big blog called the OBs, and I want to give the OB2, and that's going to make a little funny statue graphic. I never do it because by the time I get to Christmas, I'm like, no, I'm too lazy, and I quit caring.
This is all we're going to give you. We kind of give you a look back at our favorite things for streaming, movies and TV sort of thing. What were you streaming from the year? And then comfort foods we end up with, and video games, of course.
And we throw in best album, though, you know, it...
That one is not it's not as full.
It's not as structured.
Because just like with movies, there wasn't as many releases. We didn't start seeing a lot of new releases until closer to the end of this year.
Yeah, so honestly, I don't remember what else is in the podcast. That's enough. That'll get you started.
Why don't you just say Christmas and Christmas Eve items is about it.
Yeah, well, I hope that you guys have a wonderful Christmas. We're so grateful for you and for your time with us all year, every year. And you know what? Thank you for being a part. And, oh, dude, let's make Michael happy. You know what? If you want to support the podcast...
Our boss.
Just remember that you guys can actually do that. And if you do it before midnight on midnight on New Year's Eve, it actually becomes a tax-deductible gift for this year because we're nonprofit. Everything that you hear or see at RadioU, our listeners have paid for it. So thank you for doing that, for being so faithful to keep us here year after year.
Yeah, so please check out RadioU.com. You can see the donate stuff there. And if all works out, we should have something maybe unexpected for you, the podcast listeners, tomorrow. So we'll see.
We're going to try to have a Christmas miracle.
We'll see if it works out.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Where do you go when you need someone to listen to your problems and give you a big hug? Not here, obviously. This is The Riot on RadioU.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas Eve, and we're ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, it seems, we're like straight up in Christmas now.
I know. It's here, and, hopefully today maybe you can wrap up and not have anything else to do, too, and you get some time off.
You know what I'm going to do? What's your Christmas Eve routine? Aside from the show, obviously.
I actually don't do too much. I don't even know if we have any plans, so we'll just do Christmas presents tomorrow morning, but nothing else really today.
All right. I'll talk to you about mine in a little bit. It's
just yours need more time.
Maybe. Maybe. This is a weird one here. We're about to play some Family Force 5, and I'll tell you, this has been, I know for a couple of years.
It's been gone.
Their Christmas pageant album has not been available. But, man, I feel like this is the year that everybody I know has reached out to me like, psst, hey.
Well, it's available to buy, and you can listen to it on YouTube. But the streaming ability on Apple Music and Spotify and stuff have been taken away. And that's what the whole Family Force 5, FF5 label drama sort of stuff. So that's been removed, and it's not available to stream that way. And people have been pretty sad about it.
Yeah, they have. So
you can sell copies of it for a couple $100s if you have physical copies of the album.
I don't even know if I still do.
Oh, you don't? Somewhere? I bet you do somewhere.
I probably do. I mean, I know that, and this just shows you how old the album is. I ripped it at some point.
Yeah.
And I still have a folder on my desktop that is, and by desktop I mean PC, like on a drive somewhere, that is Christmas music MP3s. I almost never go directly to those MP3s because who does that anymore?
But it's been so long.
But it's still there. I know it's still there. I looked at it earlier this year. So,
well, I always laugh because people message us and they're like, they always start off with, I'll do anything to be able to get their own copy of it. And I think I don't think it's in a mean way, but I think sometimes people expect us to be like, well, here, I'll just send you the songs. And that's not legal. We can't do that. But they almost hope that we will. So when I send them back like, hey, you can spend a couple $100 on the project or $100 on the project, they're like, well, never mind. They don't want it that bad.
It's fine.
It's fine. I'll just keep listening to it on RadioU. That's plenty enough.
The worst of the worst. Are you ready? The Riot Podcast. RadioU. RadioU. RadioU.
Today might be the weirdest Christmas Eve of my whole life so far.
Because of COVID stuff or like just family and not getting together or?
Yes, I mean, it does point back to COVID for sure, but it is that because, get a load of this, my entire life, my whole life, there has never been on the family calendar like a more sacred space than Christmas Eve. It is the big non-negotiable of the entire year.
So all family would get together tonight instead of even like tomorrow?
Right. Like I've worked at a church before and I was like, hey, I know that you guys do stuff for Christmas, but sorry, I'm not coming. Like I'm
Christmas
talking like
Eve is family.
I'm like Christmas Eve, that's it. Like this is all there is. There is nothing else. I won't be there. And this year, because of COVID, plans have changed. And for the first, I'm not kidding, the first time in my life, we are doing nothing.
Nothing tonight?
For Christmas Eve.
Now, see, Obi's had COVID, so it's not like they can come and hurt them, but it's the other people coming to gather to potentially bother and make each other sick.
That's exactly right.
They can come see you all they want, but
which
not
is what
the other
we're
way.
doing.
Oh, they're all just taking different turns?
Yep.
Ah, makes
that's
sense.
how we're doing it. But it is just so strange. This is the first time ever that my Christmas Eve schedule is nothing.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. But I mean, that has been so the COVID thing this year is all the different events that kind of mark the passage of time, they just haven't happened. Or they've happened in such a weird way that it feels as if they haven't happened. I was standing, this is really dumb, but I was standing out in our parking lot yesterday and I was over in this one side lot, which I remember the trees over there during the fall, they're just beautiful. I have no memory of that this year because I was sick the entire time.
Yeah, you were in quarantine.
I didn't see those leaves change. What?
That is weird.
I
wouldn't have thought of that, but you're right. You were stuck inside the whole time.
I didn't think about it either. I was trying to wake up, and sometimes I'll just walk. Spoilers. If I'm really tired, I'll walk around the parking lot to wake up.
Yes, he does.
And I was standing out there, and I was like, oh, it's so beautiful over here in the fall. Oh, I never saw it.
You weren't here during most of the fall. You were at home.
Crazy.
You saw your basement. That's about it.
It was nice there.
At least you had the space.
It was nice.
At least you could do that. Oh, I'm sorry, nothing fun for today.
You know what? It's okay. I mean, my plans are I am actually going to go to a church thing tonight, and then
you can still see everybody, just at different days.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like my family has disappeared. It's just not the huge. If you know what I mean.
Well, at least you can still see them because, again, you've had COVID, so they can come and see you. Compared to if you haven't had it, then a lot of that is just not working out.
There are advantages. It's just an odd Christmas Eve.
Odd season.
But you know what? Merry Christmas anyway.
The Riot is well-versed on many different topics.
They're shy at first, but they're quite skilled at conversation.
This is The Riot on RadioU.
I'm not going to say why I'm thinking about this, but it is not a good time of year to be holding grudges.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't want to be the Grinch here and do that. You should just let it go.
It's hard. Don't you think it's hard, though, sometimes? Because there are certain people, certain triggers.
Oh, for sure.
That, like, when I see them, the first thing I think
is the grudge.
Is
or
the
just,
thing.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
true.
Like, okay, I'm not going to hold it against him. I forgive him. We're going to let it go.
So that's something you might have to do with some people every time you see them. It just might have to be.
So just every time.
Doesn't mean you haven't. I think people assume by moving on that they're like, well, that means you don't remember it at all. And it's not like it goes away. It's just you don't react on it.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Out in public or out loud. Inside, you might still react, but it is what it is.
And even inside, you're trying to kind of handle that.
Yeah, which can be hard. But I mean, for everybody that we're not seeing at Christmas time, maybe that'll lessen some of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You know what? That's good, Nikki. That's good. There was just...
Did you just think of something?
Well, there was a time when there was a person that was supposed to do a thing.
Yeah.
And they were scheduled to do that thing. And then they were like, no, I'm too busy. Mm-hmm. And then I watched them just sit around drinking for an hour and not do the thing.
Yeah, even though you could tell that you caught them in the lie.
Yes. And so every once in a while something pops up and I'm like, oh, remember that time? Remember that time?
Remember? That's the season right there.
Remember that? Merry Christmas!
Now, I'm not sure if it has been totally let go, but there's some passion in there.
But see, that's what we were talking about, is that sometimes the reaction still comes up. You got to deal with it. And it felt very relevant, what with us seeing family over the next few days.
It could be.
People with whom we could have a history,
Yeah, that's true.
Who knows, right? So I wish you all the very best.
Hopefully tomorrow, tonight, and this weekend is just full of good times and good memories for this Christmas.
Everything you love about the Riot, plus a handy-dandy fast-forward option. This is the Worst of the Riot podcast.
Okay, Nikki.
So 2020 brought a lot of comfort food.
We said we were going to work throughout this show on an end-of-year list, and we created this category on the fly. We were not ready for it.
What was the comfort foods during 2020 and I mean, there was a lot of TikTok trends. There was a lot of delivery and Uber Eats, a lot of food things that really latched on during this year.
Yeah.
So the question is, what's the top ones?
So, Nikki, what have you got? You said you had 2. I have 2.
Let me say 2.5. The half one being
half a menu.
At the beginning of quarantine, do you remember, we were told in our area it'd be maybe 2 weeks. It wasn't supposed to be something long.
Yep.
I stocked up on ice cream.
I remember that.
And man, I ate that and my 2-week stash was gone in no time because each day into those 2 weeks, they're like, well, it's getting worse. We're probably going to be longer. And then by the time I noticed, my ice cream was all gone. So I would say ice cream had a real comfort factor this year.
Okay, so I like this. I like where this is headed because we're talking about the beginning of quarantine.
No,
I had a...
You had a similar thing?
I had a beginning of quarantine food.
Well, I was going to say, I even DoorDashed ice cream maybe a month ago. I've never had ice cream delivered, but that was wonderful.
I bet it was. So, okay.
I'd say ice cream was the biggest one.
At the beginning of quarantine, it had just come back nationwide, was Wendy's breakfast.
Oh, that's right.
And I will tell you, when we were in that 2-week shutdown, I went to Wendy's way too many times.
Well, even when everybody stopped working from work and just worked at home, we were still working from here because we still could. We were still essential. So there was no problem getting in, a line to get in some food even after the show because it was a lot quieter for places. But yeah, the Wendy's breakfast, you got a real love of that one again.
Okay, so co-champions then for best comfort food of 2020. You picked ice cream at the beginning. I picked Wendy's breakfast. What was your second item?
Strong follow-up is pizza. Pizza's always a good one. It lasts. Sometimes with delivery food, especially if they are, I just wish you could just check something off to have them not allowed to do this. But if they go to another place and pick up someone else's order, your food gets really cold pretty quickly. But pizza can hold its own.
It does.
For hours. So it doesn't matter how long it takes to get to you. But I would say pizza and maybe the McDonald's chicken nuggets as a strong qualifier during this year.
That was my other one.
Oh, the chicken nuggets too?
Well, it was I was going to say the McNuggets meal because I'll tell you what happened. When I actually got COVID and I was at home, stuck at home for 5 weeks, I had people that were like, hey, well, I'll bring you food. And I think every single time
it was that
I had people bring me chicken McNuggets and fries from McDonald's.
Wasn't it this year they did the spicy nuggets, McDonald's, which were
I still never had them.
They were not very good.
Well, but I'm telling you, every time. And
nuggets.
Then after quarantine, after I got out of isolation, I've still been eating them.
So this is our comfort food in case you're like, what's the riot like?
I've still been eating them.
Ice cream, fast food breakfast, fast food the rest of the day, and pizza. It's exactly what you thought it would be.
And some Diet Coke.
Well, that's also what you would assume, too.
No big deal.
That's it. Does anybody else have any other comfort foods that they would add to the list?
And we would probably read them and go, oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah, that too. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, I really got in on anything Sprite or ginger ale. A lot of that, too.
And during the shutdown quarantine thing, we couldn't get any fountain soda. Those were hard times.
I forgot about that.
Those were hard times.
At least those are back. All right, that's the list.
In case you're wondering, yes, we do get complaints.
They have gone too far. This time, they are going to be held accountable.
You're listening to The Riot on Radio U.
Okay, Nikki, it's time for us to move into our end-of-year categories list.
Yes.
And we said the best streaming item. So this doesn't have to be a movie. It doesn't have to be a TV show.
Doesn't have to be current. It doesn't have to be from 2020.
If it's the thing that we discovered this year. So what do you got?
Well, I'm going with, it starts off with one, which was Emma. And Emma was an interesting one back at the beginning of March. I went to see it in theaters. And I went and saw, oh man, I went and had sushi after. It was like a great night. It was a really great night. And then what happened is that's when the crackdown on theaters and everything, so it all shut down.
Right.
But Emma was the very first, at least for me, that became the on-demand, should have been in theaters, but they were releasing it early so you could rent it.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. So I rented it, I saw it in theaters, and then I bought it when it came out. So that was my big streaming thing that I watched a lot. And then I would watch it during like the summer and into the fall. You didn't know this. I don't think I ever told you, but I would have little like Jane Austen nights where I would just
shut up.
I would.
I'm not surprised by any of this.
I would pull up like all these classic Jane Austen shows, like the different episodes. In Britain, they have like a bunch of like mini series ones.
Yeah,
I would even watch like contemporary releases, but they were based on Austen ones. So I had a good time with that a lot of nights. I just watch a Jane Austen movie.
So you would say your streaming discovery was rewatching Jane Austen.
Yes, and I would just pick not even just Jane Austen, but I would go back and watch a movie that I would enjoy even a few years ago, and I would just go back to it.
Okay, I was going to go with an item, but you went with a trend, and you know what? I'll see your streaming trend, and I'll raise it. I went on a tear of watching old science fiction movies.
You did.
And I mean, I watched, let's see, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Forbidden Planet, and these are all from like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Planet of the Vampires. That's a weird one. That's a weird one. That's like a multinational cast, like made in Italy.
Really?
Everybody's speaking their own language, but they dub it all into English. But the production design was spectacular.
Okay.
It looked so great.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then I watched...
Because you were always into watching classic movies, but you're saying you really went in on sci-fi classic movies.
The Blob, When Worlds Collide, and some others. And then what I would do is, if the movie had been remade, I would watch the original and then the remake. And so that ended up being, probably a solid run of like somewhere between 8 and 10 movies, where it was just, I was digging for old classic sci-fi and watched all of it.
Well, there just wasn't a lot of, we got to the point, remember, where there was like no new stuff ever.
Invaders from Mars. Sorry.
Is that the other one?
Yeah, that's another one.
And so you just were able to be a little bit more freeing with going back and watching classic stuff. And classic can be anywhere from a couple years to you or like 40, 50 years. So
I really had a good time. So I guess it's not best streaming. That's best streaming trend.
Yeah, that works too.
But you know what, Nikki? We set up our own bench nights. Mm-hmm. So it was totally fine. So I said classic science fiction. Nikki went with Jane Austen nights.
Worst of the Riot. RadioU.
The best of 2020s.
So for video games, 2020, remember back earlier in the year, there was will the PlayStation happen or won't the PlayStation? Or the Xbox, where the new ones happen.
Nikki and I both thought there was no chance.
Well, it just was apparent that they wouldn't. And actually, for a lot of people, our statements were true.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
not a chance because they legitimately had a problem making enough machines because a lot of places were closed down for so long. They just could not come up with enough to feed the desire of all the PlayStation and Xbox users to get the new consoles.
It reminds me of that wonderful thing I see being passed around on social media. It's the PS5 candle. Mm-hmm. It smells like you're not getting one.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet. That's not in my feed.
I laughed so hard because I'm just like, it hurts.
You can't laugh. You have one. You shouldn't laugh.
Don't make it like that. It's just funny. I understand that pain, okay? I get it. So, our best of video game 2020. Nikki, go ahead.
Animal Crossing.
Done.
Absolutely Animal Crossing. I was even late to the game.
Yeah.
We only started it because we did a RIOT live event where after the show, you and I started up my Animal Crossing island, and that was it. I don't play as much as I did during the summer.
Yes.
I'm probably a couple of nights a week. I'll put in the time to it, but I still adore it.
It's funny. I don't know what my game of the year would be.
You have more options? Or
what would I have played? Well, I mean, like for me, I didn't play Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't my thing. And like, what did I play?
What did you play before then?
I don't know.
Would it still be the Division 2? Were you playing that? Or was that the year before?
I did play the Division 2. You know what's funny is it was almost really the year of DLC for me. I went through, almost finished up all the DLC in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I played through some of the Control DLC. I played through almost all of the Borderlands 3 DLC. And so there were, we went through chunks of time where no games were hitting this year. And that's what I did is I went back and bought content for existing games, and I played a lot of that. I bought I think the Division stuff was free, but I also no. They did. They had that like Warlords of New York expansion. I bought that and I played through that. So it was.
I remember you also just going back and trying to go through some games because we can all admit it here. It's a space where we can all be honest. Got a lot of content that we buy and we don't even watch or play.
Well,
so you got to go back and go through it.
It always happens to me. It's this time of year. There are digital sales like for days, like so many digital sales on things. And so stuff that would normally be $60 will be $5. Mm-hmm. And so at this time of year, I'll just buy it. And a lot of times I, get a little carried away. Because instead of buying one thing for $60, you can buy 12 things for $60.
And you're like, so I just bought 12 things.
Yeah, it happens.
So games aside, though, you can also still add for 2020 the new consoles, as maybe that was your favorite thing out of the year. You got your Oculus 2, the newest one. So you had that.
Can we not list the things that I got?
Now, don't erase it just because you returned it. Don't erase it from your year of memory.
I did. I got an Oculus Quest 2. I got a PlayStation 5. And then probably what I think was, I feel like I already had Christmas this year.
This is tops.
Yeah. I got a video card for my PC.
I got the
NVIDIA RTX 3080. It won't mean much to most of you, but I want you to know that I was somewhere between a kid on Christmas morning and a Price is Right contestant.
With how excited you were.
And I mean, I stood there like I was normal and everything was fine.
But when I
got out to my car, I'm not making this up. I'm serious. I'm embarrassed, but it's real. My hands were shaking. I was so excited.
Oh, that's so nice. So you were so excited. That has to be your top pick for anything gaming or computer related from the year.
That was the moment, people.
That was it.
I just sat in my car just like...
He had wanted that for months and months, and there was no go, and then he just stopped in, and it was there.
Random stop in.
That was that was your Christmas miracle.
It totally was. I mean, I had to pay for it, and yes, I have paid for it. But
that was good.
Dang, man. Wow.
What a year, right? What a year.
The Riot. Just because it's bad doesn't mean it's not good. Wait, isn't that exactly what it means? It's The Riot on Radio U.
Hey, let me throw something at you. We were talking about our best of lists, but it's not exactly a best of list, but it's what I did yesterday. Last night, and it's on HBO Max, Nikki.
Oh, you got Wonder Woman tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
And for Disney Plus, what's the other one? Soul. So you got two bigger movies that were supposed to go out this year.
But you don't need either one. Because you can find 'Twas the Fight Before Christmas.
Which one's that?
It's a Powerpuff Girls episode. It's their Christmas episode.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, my gosh. It's like one of my absolute favorite things. I'm not even kidding.
I haven't watched Powerpuff Girls in years.
I love it so much. It's not new Powerpuff Girls. It's old Powerpuff Girls. And I went looking for it because I have it on DVD, but... boy, getting up to put that in would have been ridiculous.
No one's asking that, so you have to stream it somewhere.
So I just did a search, and Siri dug it up for me on HBO Max, and lo and behold, I watched it 44 minutes, and absolutely delightful.
Loved it.
So much fun. Why aren't we all watching that now?
Well, now that you're telling us about it.
Everybody drop everything. We're watching Powerpuff Girls. I'm hosting a watch party.
So join in.
I'm excited about it. I love that thing.
That's good. Yeah. I know there's lots of Christmas specials that we like.
I have a couple of other ones. It's fun. It is funny how, like, depending on the year, how a Christmas special will actually hit you. Mm-hmm. I have a Muppets one that I love called Letters to Santa that I've loved for years. And I watched it this year and I was like,
Oh, it didn't hit the same?
I don't know if this is as good as I remember.
Different years, different feelings. So at least you had Powerpuff Girls.
I mean, obviously we know I'm the one that's changed. It's not same show.
You're a different person.
It's me that's changing.
You could say post-COVID, you've lost your love for certain things.
I've lost my sense of taste.
Yeah, but
it's my taste in shows.
It is, because you kept your taste for food, but man, for shows, that's changed.
You just blew my mind.
You were an interesting COVID subject, so maybe they could study you and see, like, this taste in movies and stuff have changed.
COVID sucks. does. It sucks. Hey, sorry.
Anyways.
Little real. Got lost there for a minute. So that's my recommendation. Everybody's going to be like, let's watch Elf. Let's watch A Christmas Story. Let's watch a Hallmark movie.
Are you telling them to go ahead and get it done today? Because are you saying no, watch it before Wonder Woman tomorrow or what?
I'd watch this before Wonder Woman right now.
Okay, so there's something to do today.
If you want to talk about a strong female character that is both feminine, yet again, strong, all that stuff that they're trying to get you to do with Wonder Woman, the Powerpuff Girls did that first.
They already had that?
Totally.
You're so funny.
Totally. So, that shows you the power of friendship, sisterhood, and look at the humility they display. They still go to preschool, but at the same time, they're saving the city.
Oh, my gosh.
See what I mean?
Thanks for sharing about that.
I got we could talk for days.
Thanks for listening to the Worst of the Riot podcast.
Oh, no! I missed it! Do it again!
You can hear us live every day on the RadioU network through the RadioU app or at riot.radiou.com.
If you want to know the truth, now that I've done it, I really wish I would have put a little more work into it.